I'm joined now by reporter Bill Glauber and columnist Dan Bice for Winners and Losers. Bill, who is your winner this week?
Corey Mason. He's in the Assembly. He's running for mayor of Racine. He broke with most Democrats and supported the Foxconn legislation. Also, Todd Onstadt and Peter Barca also broke. You know, Democrats obviously have to move into something more than obstruction. Especially since they can't obstruct anything in Madison. And Mason took a local vision, a local look at Foxconn, said it would help manufacturing, help with jobs in the area. So he went for it and probably puts him in the driver's seat, although that's where he was in the race for Racine mayor. But he came across as an adult. And I think that Democrats in the Senate, some of them should be looking at what Mason did.
Okay. So were you surprised there were only 3 who voted for the Foxconn deal?
Well, the party is in disarray, so nothing surprises me with the Democrats. And, you know, to sort of, they can, you know, they needed to have probably more people being allowed to come over and vote for Foxconn. There's also, you know, the taxpayer issue. Is this too much money? But, you know, Democrats are basically thumbing their nose at what could be job creation. I realize there's risk not coming out in support of Foxconn, but it seems to me that, you know, with so many jobs that could be created by this, I think you'd probably want to be on that train.
Jobs that could be in his district of Racine, Kenosha area.
Yes.
Well, the
so
3 people who voted for it were in that region. None of the other Democrats voted for it. No one from Milwaukee voted for it.
Yeah, and I just think that is a sign of a party that doesn't have its stuff together. You know, this is a big jobs, a potential big job creator, and you don't want to really get in the way of that. I realize we're talking up to $3 billion in incentives. That's unheard of, unprecedented. So I can understand reluctance, but just snapping at it like a poodle that's angry probably isn't getting them anywhere.
An angry poodle. Okay, what about your loser?
Well, that one's pretty easy. Donald Trump. He zigged and zagged. His speech in Arizona was as unpresidential a speech as that you will ever see. His base likes it, but that base could be growing smaller. He got bad poll numbers in some battleground states, including Wisconsin. He's now attacking, as of earlier Thursday, he's attacking Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan in Washington. You need allies, especially when you're under investigation, which he apparently is.
The weird situation with Mitch McConnell is Mitch McConnell's wife is in the cabinet, and so it makes it a little more difficult. And they had there were a lot of stories over the weekend saying that the president and Mitch McConnell had a phone conversation that ended up in shouting between the two of them and hanging up, and that they've not talked since then. So yeah, difficult.
And they're also threatening on the debt ceiling. I mean, if the United States defaults even for a couple of hours, it could potentially be a pretty big economic hit. It just seems unstable. He seems unstable right now, unfit. That's how he appears. I'm not saying that's how he is. That's how he appears, and that's really not how you want to appear as president.
The interesting thing was Vice President Pence had been selling the speech as a policy speech, that Tuesday night's talk would be focused on policy and so forth.
Did he tell the president that? Didn't see
well, you know, the president largely abandoned.
It might have been on policy. We don't know.
Well, it was there on the teleprompter. He just didn't read what was on the teleprompter, which, you know, sometimes when he sticks to the script, people tend to praise him and say he's being presidential. It's when he does what he did on Tuesday night, when he goes off script, that you know, that his base loves it, and everybody else is wondering what's going on.
And there were people who were streaming out of that speech. Apparently, his supporters. I mean, it was.
He talked for quite a while.
He was getting into Castro territory on time. I realize Castro used to go 4 hours, but you know, to hold people there for an hour and 15 minutes for a speech. Okay, it was Clinton-esque, but even longer than Bill Clinton.
He just likes the response, though.
Yep, he does.
And you know, musicians like that. Lots of people like feeding off of the energy and stuff, but you have to realize, you know, that if you take it too far, that you start to lose that. So speaking of speaking of
Tuesday night, I should say, who is your winner? Because
my winner is Sheriff Joe, who apparently wasn't supposed to be in the speech, but the president indicated hinted very strongly that he's going to pardon him, which was a big change of direction, because earlier in the day, his spokeswoman had said that he probably was not going to pardon him. And Sheriff Joe Arpaio had said that he had not spoken directly with the president about it. But, you know, what did he say? That he'll be in a, that he thinks things will turn out well for him or whatever. So,
right.
So I think things are looking good for Sheriff Joe.
Okay, what about your loser?
My loser is more local. It's the West Dallas taxpayers. They had voted down a bond referendum just recently because there was the school district had really screwed up, overspent its budget, and they needed more money. The taxpayers voted down the bond issue, so they went to the state and asked if they could borrow $17 million to help shore up their budget. The state said sure, so now the taxpayers have to pay for that. So they end up with a tax increase even though they voted one down.
Got it.